Why is prayer so essential? Why is prayer so important to the mission of God in our world? Prayer, you guys, is what makes everything happen. With prayer, anything can happen. Literally, when we pray, the heavens open and the supernatural invades the natural. Without prayer, there is no move of God. Because what we're saying is, God, without prayer, we don't really need you. We can do it on our own strength. And so prayer is essential because it keeps our focus on God. It keeps our focus with God. And it keeps the power of His presence upon our lives when we begin to invite Him into our lives and into His mission. I remember one of my quotes from my good friend Pete Gregg. He wrote a book called Red Moon Rising. Any of you guys ever read this book? It's a book about the movement of 24-hour prayer in our generation. And he says this quote. He says, "Pray like it all depends on God. Live like it all depends on you." Pray like it all depends on God, and live like it all depends on you. And what we mean by that is that when we pray, God begins to speak. God begins to move. The supernatural begins to invade the natural. Heaven begins to invade earth. The skies begin to open. Angels get released. Miracles are now possible when we begin to pray. And when we're not praying, nothing will happen. The more you pray, the more you can do for God. The people who pray the most do the most for Jesus Christ. And I remember John Wesley, he had planted hundreds, if not thousands of churches within the beginnings of the Methodist movement. And people used to ask John Wesley, he literally preached something like he traveled 200,000 or more miles, preached more than something crazy like 40,000 sermons. The guy was a madman for Jesus Christ. And they used to ask him, "Mr. Wesley, how is it possible that you do so much for Jesus Christ? You preach, you teach, you baptize, you set up churches, you get persecuted, and you still have 4 hours to pray every single day." And he would pray from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. every single morning, every single day. Even if he preached till 12 o'clock at night, he would never, ever change his regimen and his discipline to pray 4 hours a day before he started his day with God. And this was his answer. He said, "With so much to do, how can I not pray 4 hours a day?" So God always invites us into an impossibility that takes prayer to actually bring to fruition. And so when we begin to pray, He invokes the two to go two by two and begin to say, "God, we need you. If your presence does not go before us, what can we do?" And so they begin to pray, "Lord, send out workers into the harvest fields."